and it's a tough issue. But that's my take. Finally, everything else that we talk about in terms of education, smaller class sizes, a longer school year, blended learning, virtual learning, we don't know, it doesn't necessarily contribute to student achievement. The things that I talked about, high expectations, teacher quality, building leadership, turning around new institutions that are effective for all the kids, turning around and creating choices when we must. Those are the things we know work. And so we are working on all of them. We've made headway on some, we haven't attended well to others. And so we all need to be very active in trying to shape this dialectic, because this is, of course, the most important foundation for us as a state. If we want to be economically successful states, guess what the states that are creating jobs and have high incomes today? They're the best educated states. They're also the ones that are leveraging their great resources and institutions of higher learning to be the engines of new businesses and technology. So again, coming back to funding, yes, we need to make changes in the way we run the business of schools. We should be bringing all public employees' benefit systems, healthcare and pensions, into the 21st century of co-pays on healthcare and pensions. We should be finding ways to save money by consolidating and regionalizing non-instructional services, back office services. That's money, though, that we need to save, but I would argue so we can put it where it can pay huge dividends for better educated people. Early childhood, access to higher ed and support for our great higher ed learning institutions, into teacher quality, national board certified teachers, master teachers, professional development, mentoring in the classroom. That's what we need to do, and we actually need to raise more money to do it. We can save money, but we actually need to invest more if we're going to succeed in achieving the outcomes that we must have. Thank you. Getting a little serious here, but Tim's going to take me on here for a bit. Great.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Hello, test, 1, 2.
And I apologize for being a panel of one again.
This is good. The good news is your microphone is louder than mine, all right? Before we begin, just one housekeeping chore if we could. Could I have everybody who is a graduate of the U of M or a supporter of the U of M, would you please stand for me? U of M grads or U of M supporters? Wow, this is impressive. Now here's the bad news. I'm going to ask all you guys to leave. I have found out over the years that if you can weed out the U of M people from the crowd, the intellectual level goes up. That's not true? That's not true? First of all, I want to tell you that I appreciate you having me in Ann Arbor. I am a graduate of the other school, and there we go. Yes, there are some of us down here. We're stupid enough to come into Ann Arbor. But seriously, thank you for having me down here, and I'm looking forward to our exchange this afternoon. This really is an audience participation program. I want you to have questions. If some people on the panel say something you agree or disagree with, please just raise your hand. I'll come over and we'll be able to get the, as the governor likes to say, we can dialogue on this issue. And education clearly is important. Let me just ask one question. How many people have read to their children? Would you please raise your hand? Fascinating. Okay. Some of you don't have kids. I'm looking at you. Yeah, you do. How come you didn't raise your hand? Steve, I'd say, you said what?
I thought you said rent them out.
Rent them out. No, read. Obviously a U of M grad, okay. Yes. You want to rent your kids out?
For the right price.
For the right price, okay. Do they have any talent?
Lots of talent.
Unlike their father, right? Okay, yes, sorry. Do you read to your kids?
Not anymore, they're all adults.
But you did?
We did.
Why did you do that?
Well, at the time, it was the thing that was told that good parents would do.
And did it work? Absolutely. John, I find in your remarks, which were very insightful, and in the governor's remarks, I've not heard a lot about parental involvement in the education process. Could you speak to that for me, please?
Well, nothing matters more, as we all know, than having parents who are who are there to engage and support and create an atmosphere of high expectations at home and to help, follow through on that, including reading, but also, what we all try to do as parents. It is also a very hard thing, though, for schools or the public policy to legislate or control parental involvement. I mean, we all want to help find ways schools can be effective at reaching out and engaging the community and the parents. It is very, very hard to legislate parental behavior that we want to see. It's very hard to create out of thin air parents when they don't exist in many kids' lives, you know, who don't have parents, who are being raised under situations that are not as ideal as many of our families. So part of what, I guess, my response is, how do we can only control, and schools can only control what happens when they get the kid. And I very strongly believe, and all of the evidence shows, that it is possible. And sometimes you do have to do a lot after school to support kids or to reach harder into their family lives. But it is absolutely possible for kids who have no one at home and who have no role models and who come from the wrong side of the tracks and who have all the pathologies around them that make it harder. Those kids can learn too. And they can actually learn in schools that create an environment in which that happens. And so we can help those kids learn, but it's really hard to say, here's what we need to do to demand parent involvement.
All right, we have a person in the audience with a comment or question, please.
Yes, just to follow up on those thoughts. President Obama's Secretary of Education has come out very strongly talking about the need for longer school year. You know, we have this agrarian calendar that's, you know, out of sync with what the current era is. And all the research shows that low income and moderate income kids learn a tremendous amount during the school year, but then learn nothing during the summer, whereas upper income kids continue to learn during the school year. So that every year by the age of, when they hit 5th grade, the scores show that 100% of the shortfall that the low and moderate income kids suffer occurs during the summer months, right? So we've already locked in the absolute failure of 21 to 23% of our kids by the time they hit the end of 5th grade and condemn them to a life of poverty because we don't do anything to change the school year length. So I take issue with your comment that the summer school year, you know, calendar has nothing to do with the outcomes. I agree with your comments about parental responsibility and other things, but there are some families that just don't have the parental influence, and the school influence is that much more positive.
Well, and I don't...
John, before you do, how many days in a year do you think the kids ought to be in school?
Well, in Japan, which I speak Japanese, 99.9% of the kids are functional literates, meaning they can read a paragraph and act on that. In the United States, 21 to 23% of our adults cannot read a paragraph and act on that. The Japanese language, I assure you, is much more complicated than the English language. They go to school 6 days a year, 365 days a year. 6 days a week, 6 days a week.
All right, how many people in the room would raise your hand if you would support sending your kids to school 6 days a week? Raise your hand. We have 2 people that have kids they don't like, all right? Just a second. Did you see that? No hands went up. Hang on, let's ask this guy what he knows that everybody else doesn't. Would you mind standing, sir? Yes, you will stand anyway, Phil, okay? Phil, Tim Skubik, I'm from the media. I'm here to help you, okay? Phil, why did you raise your hand? And nobody else did.
I'm a trendsetter, I guess. I just wanted to stick out a little bit. No, I don't know.
And humble, I might add. Okay, yes, go ahead.
On a certain level, I guess I tend to agree. I don't know if I would send the kids to school on a Saturday, but I would say throughout the summer I'd like to see more of them in school.
How about if we lengthened the school day to get to 6 days without doing 6 days?
I'd rather lengthen the school year.
All right, Mr. President, you guys have fumbled around with this school day issue for years. In fact, a couple years ago, we even lowered the number of school days, didn't we?
Right, thinking it could provide flexibility. And frankly, before the fiscal and economic collapse of the last 5 or 6 years, you know, we were seeing, when we were a little more flush, some districts were beginning to move to a year-round schedule where you punctuate stretches of education, starting earlier in August. And, that is the kind of certainly learning cycle that would make a difference. To do that costs money, but more importantly, it really does involve. I mean, we would need to change the sort of expectations for not only the whole education system, but certainly the educators. We'd have to professionalize teaching, which is important. We should. We should treat teachers just as we teach lawyers and doctors. Both, you know, it's a rigorous, important profession, but you're going to be working all year, and you're going to be paid accordingly. And you know, let's look at the whole year. Also, the way to really drive, you know, year-round schooling or anything is to make the whole system more performance-driven. We don't care how you organize the school day, how long, how short, what you teach, as long as every year the kids are learning this much and getting to this mark.
Well, are you comfortable with 180 days?
No, I do agree longer would be more. I'm more concerned with, are they learning what we want them to learn in that 180 days or 170 or 210? But I think changing the paradigm is what's needed. We have not done that, you know, in this country.
Well, give me a number then. If you could wave a magic wand, how many days would it be?
As many days as educators who are paid well and organized
Mr.
well
Austin,
need
Mr. Austin,
to get
look
the
me in
job
the
done.
eyes, sweetheart. I need a number.
No.
You were a math major. Come on.
No.
210, 220?
No, whatever it takes to get the job done.
Well, wait a minute. Why
It should
can't
be
I
based on student performance so that they're learning and hitting the exit outcomes. And then those who hit it sooner can go on and go take courses more advanced. I mean, that's what we should be doing.
Okay, you agree that the number needs to be higher than 180, but you won't give me a number, right?
Correct.
Okay, very good. I'll accept that non-answer. Please, would you mind standing for me, Jace? Here we go.
Yeah, you made the comment that every kid should go to college. What are we doing for the kids that aren't going to make it to college, especially with the new Michigan Merit Curriculum, the problems that we're seeing in the schools? Last year's class was the first class to graduate with the Michigan Merit Curriculum. Even your legislator doesn't really believe with it because they did change the limits on the Algebra 2. What are some changes that you're going to see help kids who are not going to make it to college? What are we doing for them? Because right now, you even got rid of certificate of completion, so it's either diploma or non-diploma. What are we going to do for those kids?
Jason, what do you do for a living?
I'm a special ed teacher.
Yeah, I might have guessed. All right, okay, good question, Mr. President.
So when I say college, I mean a whole family of things that are the needed next steps in today's world. Post-secondary technical training, community college, four-year college, liberal arts, apprenticeships, the military, or being ready to be an effective employee with the skills needed, all of which today require some steps usually beyond what we used to give in K-12, when it used to be you could exit and get a good job. And I fundamentally disagree, so this is why we have to change our understanding. There is no such thing anymore as those who can do college and those who can't. All kids can be engaged in effective learning that helps them reach to a high level of ability, contribution, and creativity, including those with special needs and with other abilities. I just heard Temple Grandin speak in Colorado at the Education Commission of the States. Here's a person, a poster woman for autism, and she has managed to contribute through force of will and a lot of help, and write books and become a doctor and design whole systems for slaughtering cattle that are humane because of her special gifts and insights and her special abilities, which are wildly different from, and she can't do the things, including she's become a good public speaker, believe it or not, using PowerPoints in a wonderful way, which is not the easiest thing for her. So there is no such thing as a person that can't succeed at some high level appropriate to them, which in these days includes some proxy for those next steps that are needed for them to find a role in life.
And we have a follow-up.
But she would not qualify for a high school diploma in the state of Michigan. Temple Grandin would not have gotten a diploma. So how do you fix that? Because right now we have kids. I work in a very poor district. A kid doesn't get a diploma, they quit. They're gone. We're losing kids, and they're going. Guess where they're going? They're going to prisons. They're going to get money on the streets.
If our system is not designed to support someone like Temple Grandin or your kids so they get a diploma, then we need to adjust the system. But I frankly think it is close, and we need to tweak it to make sure it does. And also, they're not, I mean, the high expectations we laid on with the Michigan Merit, the same naysayers that existed in Massachusetts when they put their high-stakes exit exam saying all these kids will drop out, it'll drive more people out. That is actually not what is happening. We have more kids achieving higher, and we're not seeing kids drop out of schools. It is tough, and it's hard work to align differently, and it's not perfect. It's still a blunt instrument, but it is not creating the fall off it's not creating the dropouts and other things that the folks who don't believe that kids can learn are always predict.